When we meet someone, it's seen as polite. When you teach kids, you ask, how are you? How are you doing? And then we engage the conversation of what we may want. And over time, it seems like it's become a chore. It's become like something we just got to do. It's like nowadays, some of us probably have your emails with dear sir, stroke madam already set as a template, and then you just go into the whole thing and you've written there, how are you doing, even though it's part of your template, and you just launch into it. But if you think of it, the reason we need to do that in this day and age, or we always had to do that, is to set up the emotional landscape, the emotional environment of compassion, kindness, and caring before we engage at a logical level. What we usually do, and I've definitely been guilty, is you barge into a room of sorts, be it an email or a situation, and you launch into the logic and rationality of what needs to be achieved, the outcome, rather than setting up the emotional landscape, the emotional space, the soup that we're hanging in. Because it's not what you do for people that matters, it's how you make them feel. Maya Angelou, the American poet, said that. It's how you make people feel that makes them do what you would like them to do, in fact. Not that you want to endeavor to manipulate people. Because the idea is to be, then do, and then you have. Rather than what we do is we generally do, then we have, then we be. In fact, I'm going to take it a step further. When you be and you do, the idea is not to be attached to what you may have or not have. That means you do with no expectation as to a particular outcome. But what you will leave with people is the impression that you had on them and what you made on them. And that allows you to work from a space of authenticity, alignment, and assertiveness. And you need to inculcate those qualities. And what happens then? People are drawn to that energy because we find it powerful. Rather than a person being a victim of circumstances, they determine the circumstances by how they are. In another way of putting it, as much as you then being, you have made we always say, I will achieve this, then I will be this. I will be wealthy, then I will be happy, for example, right? We all say that. Why don't we be happy and by default we will be wealthy? All right? And then you do in the world, because you know this, as much as you do, sometimes you've spent 150% to achieve a particular task and it just amounts to nothing. And sometimes you do 10% and lo and behold, all the rewards come to you. The idea is just to be, because your kids, for example, who sometimes the best judge of relationships, particularly maybe when they're young, because they react to your energy, react to how you be. They pick up on the aggression that may be lying underneath. They may pick up on the state or the fact that you're coming from a space of victimhood. Even newborn children, moms will say, they pick up when they're feeling calm or cool, relaxed, right? You know this as moms. So the idea is to come from that space of authenticity, figure out who you are. And you may say, wait a minute, I think I figured out who you are. As deep as you go into figuring out who you are, you still got an infinite world to conquer as to who you are. And very important, because we spoke of wanting to be in the middle, right? As in the space of authenticity. Fundamental to this is if I draw a line, here your pendulum is at rest, okay? It's not being buffeted one way or the other. But because we live in a world of people, we got no choice sometimes when we're sitting there and someone comes, you may be meditating in the space of complete calm and someone pushes you over, you fall, right? The idea is though, as much as you at the center, that you have some goal to chase, some purpose, some truth. So if you are centered, meditating, and someone tries to push you over, but you have some goal, it's tougher to push you over. So for example, let's do this exercise. So if I tell you to hold your hand out, okay, and then someone comes along and pushes it, it's easy, isn't it? All right? Because it's just out there. But if I tell you, aim for the opposite wall, and I want you to touch the opposite wall, that means, and you know it's impossible, but someone comes and pushes this hand, it's tougher because you have somewhere to go. You have become more rigid or more structured because you're aiming towards something more powerful. And the more infinite that goal, that purpose is, the more powerful you become. I use the word rigid, but I mean rigid in terms of your principles, your values, your ethics. And then you are less likely to be pushed one way or the other. You're less likely to compromise. You're less likely, in fact, then, to go into that survival mode because everyone is running one way or the other and be fight, flight, fright, because you're driven by something far more powerful and you're more focused. And then as much as we may say we take the not nice bed with the bunk, with the springs and stuff, it's not about that physical pain anymore or that physical discomfort, because you kind of accept it as part of your journey to getting to where you want to go. Because sometimes as much as one person pushes us there, we say, I'm doing it for you. Then what we're doing is we feel we've compromised and we don't like it because at some level, when we compromise on something we may not enjoy, we feel controlled and manipulated. Therefore, I have to go become a victim for you and you victimize me. But if you know you're doing it for a greater reason, then it doesn't matter.